They call it the Valley of the Headless Men, a place so remote, so brutal that even seasoned explorers whisper its name with unease. Hidden deep in the Northwest Territories of Canada lies the Nahanni Valley, a land of jagged peaks, roaring rivers, and mists that never lift. From the air, it looks like paradise, a sweeping gorge carved by the South Nahanni River, its cliffs rising like the walls of some forgotten fortress. But step inside, and you enter a realm where maps end, compasses falter, and legends begin. For centuries, the indigenous Dene people avoided this place. They said it was cursed, that strange beings, the Naha people, lived there, a fierce and mysterious tribe who vanished as suddenly as they appeared. Stories told of their raids on neighboring villages, their strange cries echoing through the canyons, and the way they seemed to melt back into the valley's fog, as if the land itself had swallowed them whole. When the Naha disappeared from history, the Dene did not celebrate. They feared. To them, it meant the valley had claimed even its own. The Dene called the Nahanni a land of spirits. Hunters who strayed too close spoke of being watched, of hearing footsteps pacing them on the ridges, of fires seen burning in the distance with no camp, no people, no explanation. Some elders warned, if you go into the valley, you may not return, and if you do, you will not be the same. For generations, the Nahanni remained untouched, a blank spot on the map, a place where superstition outweighed curiosity, until the early 20th century, when gold fever drove men into places even spirits dared to avoid, and that's when the Nahanni began to show its teeth. The dawn of the 20th century brought fever to the north, not the fever of sickness, but of gold. The Klondike rush had lured thousands into the Canadian wilderness, and whispers soon spread of another land rich with treasure, the untouched Nahanni Valley. Men spoke of nuggets as large as fists, of rivers lined with shining veins. The only catch, to claim it, one had to brave a land the Dene had long warned against. And so, in 1903, two brothers, Willie and Frank McLeod, decided to stake their fortune. Young, ambitious, restless. They set out from Fort Liard with supplies, rifles, and hope burning in their chests. Locals warned them, "Do not go into the valley." But gold speaks louder than fear. For months there was silence, no word, no sign, until the next year, when a search party ventured into the valley. What they found became the beginning of the legend. On the riverbank, half hidden in brush, lay the brothers' camp, their rifles still stacked, their gold pokes untouched. But the brothers themselves were gone. Further upriver, the searchers stumbled upon something horrific, the bodies of Willie and Frank McLeod, badly decayed, and both were headless. No skulls were ever found. The cause of death? Never determined. Some said it was murder by rival prospectors. Others believed it was the valley itself, taking vengeance on those who trespassed. Word spread quickly, and the Nahanni Valley gained a new name, the Valley of the Headless Men. But the valley was not finished. In 1917, another prospector named Martin Jorgensen built a cabin deep within the gorge. Like the McLeods, he dreamed of striking it rich. For years, he was seen in the valley, working, panning, hunting, until one day, silence. His cabin was later found burned to the ground. Inside the ashes lay his remains. And just like the McLeods, his skull was missing. By now, the Nahanni had become notorious, not just a dangerous wilderness, but a place where men entered alive and left headless. And still, more came. Gold is a cruel master, and the valley demanded payment. By the 1920s, the Nahanni Valley had become a place of whispers. Every tavern from Dawson to Edmonton echoed with stories of headless bodies, of gold waiting for the brave, and of something in the valley that hated trespassers. Still, men came. Prospectors, drifters, dreamers. Most returned with nothing but frostbite, but some never returned at all. In 1926, a prospector named John O'Brien was found frozen to death, his hand still clutching a box of matches. Beside him lay a small pile of kindling, untouched, unlit. It was as if he had simply sat down and let the cold take him. Locals swore he had been driven mad by something he'd seen, but others pointed out what was missing: his head. 3 years later, in 1929, Angus Hall, another gold seeker, was found in his sleeping bag, also headless. His camp appeared undisturbed, his rifle nearby, his gold pan resting by the river, but his skull had been carefully removed. Then in the 1940s, the stories grew darker still. 2 prospectors were discovered dead near Flat River, their bodies decomposed, torn by animals. But again, their heads were missing. At this point, the pattern was undeniable. It was not starvation, not accident. Something or someone was hunting men in the Nahanni and leaving them without faces, without names. Theories spread like wildfire. Some claimed rival prospectors were murdering for gold, decapitating the dead to conceal their identities. Others whispered of indigenous justice, that the valley spirits were exacting vengeance for intrusions. And a few went further, claiming that whatever killed these men was not human at all. The Dene spoke of mountain spirits who prowled the cliffs, and of the Naha people whose screams still echoed in the gorge. The valley takes the heads, one elder said, because the soul lives inside. Without the head, the spirit cannot return home. By now, the Nahanni was feared worldwide. Newspapers dubbed it Canada's Bermuda Triangle. Explorers, trappers, and even government surveyors hesitated to enter. Yet despite the risk, the valley continued to lure men with its promise of hidden gold. And each time they came, the legend of the Headless Men grew stronger. As the body count grew, so did the theories. Everyone had an explanation for the Valley of the Headless Men, but none could silence the dread. The first and simplest theory was greed. Prospectors, some said, turned on each other in the heat of gold fever. Murder for treasure was nothing new in the north. Cutting off a victim's head would hide his identity, erase his claim, and send a brutal warning to anyone else. And yet, many of the dead were found without gold at all, their supplies intact, their camps undisturbed. If greed was the motive, why leave everything behind? Another possibility: wild animals, bears, wolves. The valley was home to both in terrifying numbers. Perhaps scavengers took the heads after death, but trappers argued otherwise. Animal attacks do not leave cleanly severed necks. Predators devour the body. They do not remove only the skull. The next theory was more sinister: a killer. Some whispered of a madman who haunted the valley, a shadow living in the canyons, preying on those foolish enough to enter. But despite decades of searches, no such man was ever found. No footprints, no camps, nothing. Then came the indigenous accounts. The Dene and other First Nations spoke of spirits that guarded the valley. Some said the land itself was alive, a cursed place where the earth hungered for souls. Removing the head, they believed, kept the spirit from leaving, trapping it forever in the Nahanni. Others spoke of the lost Naha people, a fierce tribe that vanished without explanation. According to some legends, they had never truly disappeared. They had simply retreated deeper into the valley's caves and cliffs, waiting, watching, striking at those who dared to follow. There are also those who call the Nahanni a thin place, a gap between worlds, the mists, the sudden storms, the way compasses falter. To some, these are signs that the valley is not bound by normal laws, that stepping too far into its canyons might mean stepping somewhere else entirely. And when those people return, if they return, they are not whole. Their heads, their souls, are taken by the valley as payment. Finally, the skeptics offer a cold answer. The Nahanni is simply a death trap. Its cliffs crumble without warning. Its rivers flood overnight. Avalanches strike without sound. Men die. Bodies scatter. Heads are lost to scavengers or the river's current. But the skeptics cannot explain why the deaths cluster here, why so many end the same way, and why fear grips even those who have never set foot in the valley. Because sometimes, a place earns its reputation for a reason. The Nahanni Valley is beautiful beyond words. Its cliffs glow amber in the evening light, its river carves a silver path through the endless forest, and its mists rise like spirits at dawn. But beneath that beauty lies fear. For more than a century, men have entered this valley chasing gold, and too many have left only as whispers, their stories carved into the legend of the Headless Men. What does it mean? Is the Nahanni cursed ground a wilderness too dangerous for human ambition? Or is it something deeper, a mirror of our own greed, our own willingness to risk everything for wealth, even our lives, even our souls? The Dene did not need proof. They always knew. To them, the Nahanni was a place where the spirits walked close, where the Naha people disappeared into the rocks, and where the land itself exacted a price. Perhaps the valley takes heads because it takes the mind first. Madness in the isolation, terror in the silence, and hunger in the heart. The headless bodies we find are just the remains. The rest is kept by the valley. Explorers still come, adventurers, tourists. They take photos of the cliffs, stand in awe at Virginia Falls, and wonder how such a paradise earned such a name. But those who live closer, those who hear the wind through the canyon at night, they do not laugh. They say the valley remembers, that once you step inside, it knows your name, and if it chooses, you may never step out again. So what do you believe? Are the stories of the Headless Men just frontier myths bloated by rumor and fear? Or does the Nahanni Valley still hunger for the souls of those who wander too deep? Next time you look at a map, find that vast blank in the Northwest Territories, where the river cuts through mountains older than memory. That is the Nahanni, Canada's Valley of the Headless Men, a place where fortune seekers go searching for gold, and sometimes lose everything else instead. Join me next time as we step deeper into the mysteries, into the darkness, into the places where the world grows thin, and venture once more beyond the veil.